Hey guys, I'm Nidoking, and once again, this is Space Quest 1, the Sarien encounter. You may remember that last time we were at Ulin's Flats, finally managed to purchase ourselves a spaceship and a navigation droid, and get out into space. So let's see what else we can do with our handy companion here. Not a whole lot. Hey, where's my smell and taste cursors? I can't do anything in this ship. Can't even play around with the eject controls? Forget this. I can't buy you companion. I can't buy you love. Now, I believe that's the standard death if you put in the wrong sector. Getting the Romulan ship, or whatever it was in the last video, was just a coincidental Easter egg. So let's go ahead and put in the right coordinates. I'll pull up my copy protection sheet and look up sector FF. And of course these symbols have to manage not to look like anything recognizable, so it's really hard to find the one you want. And if he says that on the first or second time, you know you got it right. Asteroids again, but if you're going to the right place, they just manage not to hit you. Your droid is only any good as a pilot when you're going to the Deltaur. Hopefully you guys recognize that ship from the intro of the game. But I think our droid's got a point. On second thought, our droid's kinda dumb and only knows anything about navigation. So you automatically put on the jetpack at this point. If you don't have it, there's another death that I just didn't bother with. We'll see it when we go back to the original. And some weird shadow effects. Remember that phrase, biggest darn spaceship. So we could take the obvious door, or we can look around for maybe another way in. Which takes forever. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to leave the screen. So, alright, big obvious door it is. You just keep pressing that button, Roger. And then we go all Wile E. Coyote. Ooh, explode. I want to save and then stand near that thing. Well, come on, explode! That's kind of boring. Alright, doesn't look like we can get through the only door in this room, so there must be something in this room we can do something with. The thing I love so much about that one is the time delay. It's like, hey, I got shot with a laser. I think I'm supposed to... Oh, yeah, die. So what you need to do, obviously, is hide out of sight of the robot as it's coming in. And you can probably tell we'll be doing a lot of that on the Deltaur. Now, I thought he couldn't vent his suit enough to smell anything. Guess maybe he's just guessing that it smells like ozone. I want to see what kind of droid this is, anyway. Oh, I see. It's a fire droid called in to put out the burning jetpack. Much too busy. Yep, yet again, an error message, or a game over message that tells us the incredibly obvious solution to our puzzle. I'm so used to complaining about unhelpful error messages that I just didn't, I don't know. I guess getting a game over is kind of an error. I'm rambling. I should stop that and just try to lick the droid again. Okay, obviously that just can't be done, so let's get the heck out of here before I have to restore yet again. Alright, a trunk, obviously gonna have some valuable stuff in there. Or we'll just push it against the wall. Whatever. Yeah. They got a good point. We got a galaxy to save, so let's go find that star generator. Alright, obviously walking out the door isn't going to work, so there's two ways that I can escape this room. One way is to go ahead and open the trunk, which I need to do by prying it open with a knife. And then I can hide inside, and the Sariens will carry it somewhere else. The original game made it much clearer what was happening. And in this version, you can't get to this vent from this side. I think in at least some versions of the original you could. You could ride the trunk to this room and then climb into the vent from that side and get extra points. But instead we can use the vents from this side as another means of escaping from the room. But of course we can't pry it open. Unless we have the knife. So in this version of the game, they make absolutely sure you remember to get that knife. The original, you could hide in the trunk even if you didn't have the knife. I believe if I go up from here, then I'll be right at that other room. But I wanted to see what was down. Maybe some kind of creative game over, or some complicated loop that would end up going right back to where it was. Infinite tunnels, who knows. The annoying thing is, you gotta click 3 times on every screen. One time to get him to start climbing down the ladder, a second time to get him to finish climbing down the ladder and get off, and a third time to actually leave the room. Why do they do this? But it doesn't matter because we're in the other room anyway. And we end up in the same place. I think you get 1 more point for crawling through the vents. And again, I'm getting shot at, but you usually get a very brief opportunity to duck back into the room. And it looks like we got a washing machine here. Maybe we can get a disguise out of it. That's brilliant, Roger. And now I'm gonna get washed to death. Brilliant. Or I'll survive and come out disguised as a Sarien. And of course they clean up my inventory because I don't need any of the old stuff except the data cartridge. And as for my old uniform, well, looks like there was something of it I could pick up. No, it's some sort of ID card for Buxton Freem. And this is one of the laziest messages in the game. I'll show you why that is later. But disguised, we should be able to walk around the ship safely. And in fact, we can. So at this point, there isn't really a whole lot you need to do, and you'll notice that even though I've now changed my clothes and been washed, I still stink. That's the richest thing ever. Roger Wilco insulting someone else's intelligence. But you still can't do anything much interesting with these guys. It's pretty much just the guy guarding the escape pod. So we'll need to get past him if we want to do something like, say, escape. And we'll need to get down there in order to look at that cool-looking thing. They actually didn't change the layout of this spaceship from the original, but in the original, all these hallways just had nothing at all in them. Here, there's all kinds of cool stuff to look at. But we can't get to those parts of this room. We can only get into the blue hallways, so let's move along. Hey, out of the way! Arrgh. Yeah, and whoever did this text has no concept of the word spine. I think they gave up at this point. And I'm about to give up too. I mean, it's interesting to look around. There's very little point to doing any of this. Not a whole lot here to fiddle around with or do at all. But there's this thing. A cartridge reader. And wouldn't you know it, we've got a cartridge. Now, since I used the cartridge reader on Corona, I already know what it says. And it says exactly the same thing. There's no change. The combination to use the self-destruct is still the same. But just in case you forgot to use the reader on Corona or completely missed it, you get another chance in this version. In the original, as I said, the hallway is completely empty. If you haven't already read the cartridge, you're finished. So there's the entrance again. And that's pretty much everywhere we can get to on this floor of the ship. It's really how you're going to spell tonight? Really? Alright, I'm done putzing around. Time to get on with my mission. Nothing over this way. Just kind of have a rounded view for some reason. I guess it's because all these corridors are kind of technically round. It just looks weird, that's all. So we need to ride up this elevator. And of course, more stuff to look at. Jillions of volts. I don't know why he stepped into the elevator when I tried to look at the robot. I thought maybe I accidentally picked the walk cursor or something, but I didn't. I think what happened is he started to turn towards the robot, and that had him clip into where the elevator door opens. Which is just kind of stupid, so... For your penalty game, you have to touch the crackling electricity. And he manages to walk into it after the electricity turns off. And still die. So, just another unique death that no sane person would ever find unless they were actually looking for it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, would be the star generator. There's only one giant Sarien guard standing there. And not a whole lot I can do with him either. And attempting to do so has apparently corrupted the sound in this room. I don't know what it is about this room. The sound just kind of goes out randomly. So, forget it. I'm going to have to find some other way to get past him. Which is what the rest of the entire upper floor is for. I don't think you ever see any of the Sariens using the elevators. Not really sure why. If it's a programming thing, or would have been difficult to have Roger and the Sarien using the elevator at the same time, or programmed to prevent that from happening. Oh yeah, I can look at the droid while I'm up here. Not that the description is at all interesting. So now I'm above that guard. Might as well get a good look at him while I'm up here. And And even from up here I can see some sort of gadget on his belt, which obviously is important because they're drawing attention to it. Obviously something to keep in mind for later. Weapons sounds good. I could use weapons. And from my understanding, this guy is supposed to be Marvin the Paranoid Android from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He doesn't look like him, he doesn't really sound much like him, and he doesn't talk like him, so I have no idea where anybody got that impression. It serves Behins the counter? Behins? They didn't pay attention anymore. I guess they made this part of the game last, and they were just so tired they wanted to get it out the door. Yeah, I met somebody on Ulin's flats. But more about that later. No, I gotta keep talking to you now. No, he just repeats. I guess talking to him is the one thing that won't make him kill you. Gas grenades could be useful. And if I'm just looking at the other weapons, you notice it, again, draws attention to the gas grenades. Clearly, therefore, they're important. Clearly, therefore, I want them. And you're gonna get a gas grenade to the face, pal. Very wily coyote. And of course, we get the same message that we got for every death in the original Space Quest. Speaking of which, let's take a look at what this sequence looks like in the original. If you remember, I was still on Corona before, because as soon as I type HH, I go straight to the Sarien ship. And of course, it's still the Mugger's ship. Now, I love the text in this version so much more than the remake. Right there, they had a line making fun of the 16-color graphics. And there's nothing in this game for putting in the wrong sector designation, because the game just plain doesn't recognize anything but HH. And even in this version, we've got the Asteriod field to deal with. Did nobody proofread back then? But you might remember this sequence if you saw the preview in King's Quest II. This is completely non-interactive. You're just watching your ship dodge these asteroids. I guess they wanted to make it look interesting. And I think there at the very end he said, "There we are, sir," just briefly. Too high speed to see it. Again, we get some actual dialogue. And I like the look of the ship better in this version, too. In this version, putting on the jetpack is not automatic. So instead we need to explicitly wear the jetpack, and the game even tells us how it controls. Not that we ever did much with it in either version, frankly, but you just use the arrow keys. And here we've got a little blurb about what actually happens to the droid, which you may remember we didn't get in the remake. They stripped out so much of the personality of the game when they remade it. So here we got the big obvious door. We can at least leave the screen, but only for about a millisecond. So, big obvious door. If we look at the ship, we get the familiar message that the remake just gave to us. Here we've got a twist handle instead of a convenient button. And we're in the airlock, but you might notice that our jetpack has not burst into flame. One of the biggest actual substantial differences between the two versions. But if we just hang around here and wait, the droid comes through. And of course I missed the door. I don't know if it's possible to get trapped in here and never be able to leave. I don't know whether the droid comes through more than once, but it certainly returns through the same door, so I took the opportunity to leave. And here you can even see it going through this room. And here's the trunk. You can push it up against the wall. We've still got two solutions for getting through this room, but as you can see, we don't need to use the knife to pry the trunk open. And we have to ditch the jetpack somewhere before we can crawl through the grate. So either you can hide in the trunk, in which case he'll just happen to leave the jetpack in there when he's brought to the other room, or you can hide the jetpack in the trunk before climbing into the grate. I believe that, at least in this version of the game, going through the vents gives you one additional point. Whereas if you hide in the trunk, some versions of the game will then allow you to climb into the vent from the other side and get about 5 points more than the maximum. Now I thought I needed to turn my feet towards the vent in order to kick it, but it doesn't work that way. He just automatically turns himself around. And here we are in the familiar room with the washing machine. Again, if we wait long enough, we'll get a message about a Sarien coming in, and then it makes more sense to hide in the machine rather than just try to grab some clothes from it. And we even get a little message that makes it sound like we're about to die, but it's a lot faster to realize that that hasn't happened. And if I look at my inventory, I still have all the same stuff that I had before. But I need to specifically look at the uniform that I'm wearing in order to find the Sarien identification card in the pocket. And that's why I said before that the description of the ID card was a lazy one, because you didn't have to search the pocket. You just pick it up off the floor, but it still said it was in your pocket. Now you can talk to these guys, and they've got a lot of interesting stuff to say, which may or may not have made it to the remake. I didn't really poke around too much. But one thing you have to make sure to do, if you want to get the full score anyway, is kiss the guard. I forget who they said decided this had to be in the game, but that's worth a point. One of the easiest points to miss. And I'm going to show you a lot of the things that they say, but I'm not going to be showing the most important one because, well, you'll see, I talked to them a lot of times, and they just never said it. Alright, so I figured I was pretty much done. This time the elevator to the escape pod isn't guarded, but it still doesn't open yet. And again, trying to get the relevant message. Here I get a message where I ask him if he's played King's Quest III, which hadn't been made at this time, I don't think. So it was kind of a future joke. The most important thing to get them to say is, if the guard asks you if you've played King's Quest II, you need to say yes, and that's worth 5 points. So I missed those 5 points in this playthrough, and that's going to explain the score gap at the very end. So once he started repeating himself, I just left. And this droid is the bane of your existence when you're playing this version. The Guardian droids were removed from the remake, but in this version, it's just another enemy that'll attack you if you're not in disguise. Thing is, there's a way you can defend yourself against Sariens, there's no way you can defend yourself against the droids. And here we see the star generator. I still think that looks better in this version, but opinion. And the weapons dispensary, which is really simple in design. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and show him the ID card, because I didn't really know where I was going to stop the video. And showing him the card is the way that you distract him so that you can grab the grenade. Unfortunately, I'm foiled by my poor typing skills. I'm going to go ahead and try to grab it again anyway. But I do remember that mention of Ulin's flats earlier on, so I wanted to come back here and show you guys something that I didn't see during all my playthroughs. In fact, just to get this, I had to enter and leave the bar about 5 more times. Very rare sight, so let's go ahead and do everything that we can with this singer while she's here. Alright, no more importantly, people wanted me to do more things with the green three-breasted alien. And of course I had to poke around a little with some of the other aliens. And one more interesting thing to see. So of course we've got to bother this guy again. And that's it. He won't kill you. He'll just keep showing you his claws. And that's everything I know of to do in the bar, really. So, Join me next time when I will finish the first Space Quest game. See you then.